The imperial state crown sits before the speech. She has learned not to move her head during that time. The crown weighs just under a kilogram. The frame presses at the temples, forehead, and base of the skull. In photographs from 1953, her chin angles slightly upward. By 1967, the chin has levelled. The adjustment happened somewhere between those years, in rooms without cameras. She inherited the crown at 25. It was made for her grandfather. The velvet cap inside was shaped for a different skull. Goldsmiths can adjust the frame, but only within limits. The structure contains the second star of Africa, the Black Prince's ruby, the Stuart sapphire. Moving those stones requires parliamentary approval, so the head adjusts instead. In early portraits, she wears it sitting down. The 1953 coronation photographs show her seated for every formal image. When she stands in the crown during the coronation ceremony itself, she moves slowly, and there are photographs where her left hand rises briefly to her temple, not touching the crown, but near it. That gesture disappears from later photographs. By the 1960s, she stands in the crown without the hand, without the slight forward tilt of the torso that appears in the earliest images. The crown is worn for the state opening of Parliament. She travels to Westminster in a carriage, wearing the crown for the journey. Early footage shows her head held carefully still against the motion of the carriage. The crown doesn't move, but her neck compensates for the suspension, the cobblestones, the turns. By the 1970s, the roads have been resurfaced along the route. The carriages have been resprung, but the stillness remains. If this kind of history interests you, subscribe to the channel. The Vladimir tiara belonged to Grand Duchess Vladimir, who fled Russia in 1917. It was smuggled out in pieces. Queen Mary bought it in 1921. Elizabeth inherited it in 1953. The tiara contains 15 diamond circles connected by pearl drops. Each drop is removable. They can be replaced with emeralds. She wears it first in 1954 during a state visit to Norway. The photographs show her arriving at the palace in Oslo. She's stepping out of a car, and there's a visible pause before she straightens fully. The tiara sits high on the forehead, and the placement requires a specific tilt of the chin to keep it from sliding back. In the photographs from that evening's dinner, the tilt is still there. She wears it again in 1957 for a state banquet in Washington. This time, the emerald drops are in place. The added weight changes the balance point. In the photographs, her head is angled slightly forward, and her hand appears at the back of her neck twice during the evening. Once while standing, once while seated. The gesture suggests adjustment, not of the tiara, but of the muscles beneath it. By 1961, the Vladimir tiara appears in photographs without the forward angle. She wears it in Paris, in Rome, in Accra. The head remains level. The emeralds stay in place. But something else changes, the length of the events. In the 1950s, she wore it for entire state visits: arrival, dinner, departure. By the 1970s, it appears primarily for the formal dinner itself, sometimes for under 2 hours. The arrivals are photographed with smaller pieces. The departures happen without it. The shift is visible in the pattern of photographs. In 1958, she wears the Vladimir tiara in 6 different settings during a 10-day visit to Denmark. In 1979, during a similar visit to Copenhagen, it appears twice. The tiara hasn't changed. The itinerary has. The Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara was a wedding gift in 1947. It's a Kokoschnik-style frame with diamond scrollwork. The structure is rigid, it cannot be resized. The frame sits across the forehead and temples, and the pressure is distributed along a metal band at the back of the head. In wedding photographs, the veil hides the band. In later photographs, the band is visible when her hair is pulled back. She wears it constantly in the early years. It appears in photographs from 1948, 1949, 1950, 1951. She wears it for evenings that last hours. She wears it standing, sitting, dancing, walking between rooms. In a photograph from 1950, taken at a charity gala, her hand rests briefly on the back of her head while she's speaking to an ambassador. The gesture lasts less than a second. It's visible in only one frame of the sequence. By 1952, the tiara appears less frequently at extended events. She wears it for state banquets, but not for the receptions that follow. She wears it for formal photographs, but removes it before the dinner concludes. The pattern becomes consistent by 1955. The tiara is present for the arrival, the receiving line, the first course. It's absent by the time guests move to the drawing room. The photographs from 1960 onward show a different pattern entirely. The tiara appears primarily in portraits, seated portraits, where the session is brief. It still appears at state events, but the duration narrows. A banquet in 1963 shows her wearing it for the formal photograph early in the evening. Later, when guests are photographed in the ballroom, she's wearing a smaller piece. The tiara doesn't change. The schedule does. The Cambridge emeralds were purchased by Queen Mary in 1910. They include a necklace, a brooch, and earrings. The emeralds are large. The necklace sits low on the collarbone. The weight pulls the clasp toward the back of the neck, and early photographs show the clasp shifted slightly to the right, visible just behind her ear. She wears the set in 1953 at her first state banquet as Queen. The necklace requires a specific posture: shoulders back, chin neutral, no forward lean. If the shoulders round even slightly, the necklace pulls forward and the clasp becomes visible from the front. In photographs from that evening, the clasp is centered at the nape, but there's a later photograph, taken near the end of the event, where the clasp has shifted again. She wears the set again in 1957, and then regularly through the 1960s. The necklace appears in state portraits, at banquets, during foreign visits. But there's a visible change in how it's worn. In photographs from 1955, the necklace sits low, and her posture is rigidly upright. By 1962, the necklace sits slightly higher, and the posture has softened. The necklace was altered. The emeralds weren't reset, but the chain between them was shortened. The brooch appears separately. In the 1950s, she wears it on the shoulder, which is traditional. The weight of the stone pulls fabric forward, and early photographs show a slight distortion in the drape of her gowns at the shoulder. By 1965, the brooch appears at the centre of the bodice instead, where the structure of the gown supports the weight. The stone didn't change, the placement did. The earrings remain. They're worn at nearly every formal event from 1953 onward, but the duration of that wear changes. In the 1950s, she's photographed wearing them from early evening through midnight. By the 1970s, photographs suggest they're removed earlier. There are images from a 1974 banquet where she's wearing them during the receiving line, but they're absent in photographs from the same evening taken hours later. The shift is quiet. There's no announcement, no comment in the press, no visible moment of removal. The emeralds are simply there, and then they're not. The Greville chandelier earrings were inherited in 1953. They're diamond drops, with 3 separate tiers of stones. The entire weight hangs from a single pierced post. In photographs from 1953, there's visible redness around her earlobes after evening events. The redness appears in photographs taken the following day. She wears them throughout the 1950s. They appear in photographs from state banquets, galas, receptions. But there's a shift in how long they're worn. In 1954, she's photographed wearing them for an entire evening in Malta, from early evening until after midnight. In 1959, during a similar event in Chicago, they appear in photographs from the arrival and the formal dinner, but they're absent by the time she's photographed leaving late that evening. By 1962, the earrings appear primarily in seated portraits. They're worn for formal photographs, where the session is brief. They still appear at banquets, but the pattern changes. She's photographed wearing them during the receiving line, during the first course, sometimes during the toast. She's rarely photographed late in the evening. The banquets themselves don't end early. She remains present. The earrings don't. In 1970, the pattern shifts again. The earrings appear almost exclusively in photographs where she's seated. Standing photographs from that year show her in smaller studs, even at state events. The chandelier earrings haven't been altered. They haven't been retired. But their context has narrowed to situations where the weight is supported differently, where the head stays still, where the evening is measured differently. The Nizam of Hyderabad necklace was a wedding gift in 1947. It's a bib-style necklace made of diamonds with a tiered structure that covers the upper chest. It requires a clasp at the back and 2 additional support chains that attach at the sides. In early photographs, the support chains are visible when she turns her head, thin lines of metal extending from the necklace to clasps hidden beneath her hair. She wears it in 1948 during a formal portrait session. The photograph shows her seated, shoulders squared, chin level. The necklace sits flat against her chest. She wears it again in 1951 at a state banquet in London. This time, there are photographs of her standing, moving between guests, turning to speak. In those images, the necklace shifts slightly with each movement. The diamonds catch the light at different angles, revealing the motion of the piece against her body. By 1955, the necklace appears less frequently in photographs where she's standing. It's worn for seated portraits, for formal dinners, where she remains at the head table, for events where movement is limited. There's a photograph from 1958, taken at a banquet in France, where she's wearing the necklace during the meal. Hours later, in photographs from the reception that follows, she's wearing a simpler piece. The necklace continues to appear through the 1960s and 1970s, but the pattern becomes clear. It's present for the static moments. It's visible in official portraits, in photographs taken before guests arrive, in images where she's seated at the centre of the frame. It's absent from photographs where she's walking, dancing, or moving through rooms. The necklace hasn't been altered. The photographs have. The Diamond Diadem was made for George IV in 1820. It contains over 1,000 diamonds. The band is rigid and cannot be adjusted. Elizabeth wears it for the journey to Westminster during each state opening of Parliament. She wears it in the carriage, travelling through London, sitting upright while the diadem remains perfectly still on her head. In early footage from the 1950s, there's a visible moment when she enters the carriage. She adjusts her posture before sitting, tilting her head back slightly to test the balance. The diadem sits forward on her forehead, and the adjustment ensures it won't slide during the journey. By the 1960s, that adjustment has become invisible. She enters the carriage and sits without the testing motion, without the tilt. The diadem stays in place. The piece appears on British currency. It's on stamps, on coins, in portraits that circulate through the Commonwealth. But in photographs of the Queen herself, it appears almost exclusively in one context: the journey to Westminster. She doesn't wear it for state banquets. She doesn't wear it for foreign visits. It's reserved for the specific journey, the specific occasion, the specific posture required by the state opening ceremony. In 1986, there's a photograph of her adjusting the diadem before entering the carriage. Her hands are at the temples, checking the placement. It's one of the only photographs where the adjustment is visible. By 1990, those photographs stop appearing. The diadem is already in place when she steps into the frame. The adjustment happens elsewhere, in moments the camera doesn't record. But there's another shift, one visible only in sequence. In photographs from the 1950s and 1960s, the diadem appears first. She wears it for the journey to Parliament, then switches to the Imperial state crown for the ceremony itself. The order is fixed: diadem, then crown. By the 1980s, official photographs reverse the sequence. The crown is shown first in most published images. The diadem appears second, or not at all. The pieces haven't changed position in the ceremony. The order of their documentation has. The Queen Alexandra's wedding necklace contains 3 strands of pearls. It's a choker style, sitting high on the neck. The pearls are graduated, with the largest at the centre front. The piece requires the head to remain upright. Tilting the head forward causes the pearls to press against the throat. Tilting backward shifts the weight unevenly across the collarbone. She wears it first in photographs from the early 1950s. It appears at evening events, at state dinners, at receptions. In early photographs, her head position is carefully controlled, chin parallel to the ground, neck extended. There are images where the constraint is visible. She's speaking to guests while maintaining the exact same head angle, her eyes moving instead of her neck. By 1960, the necklace appears less frequently. It's worn for formal photographs, for events where she'll be seated for most of the evening, for occasions where conversation happens face to face rather than across a room. There's a photograph from 1961 where she's wearing it during a state banquet. She's seated, and the angle of the photograph shows the pearls resting against her neck without visible pressure. Another photograph from the same evening, taken while she's standing, shows the pearls pulled taut across her throat. The necklace continues to appear through the 1970s, but primarily in contexts where movement is minimal. It's present in official portraits. It's worn for the first portion of state banquets. It's rarely photographed late in the evening. The pearls themselves haven't changed. The duration of their appearance has. By the 1980s, the necklace appears in photographs where she's seated, where the session is controlled, where the head remains in a fixed position. It's absent from photographs where she's moving through crowds, turning frequently, or engaged in extended conversation. The necklace exists in the collection. It appears in the frame, but the frame has narrowed to the moments where the body doesn't have to compensate for the object. The jewellery remains. The pieces are photographed, catalogued, displayed. They appear in exhibitions, in official portraits, in carefully staged moments. But across decades, the patterns shift. The arrivals show one piece, the departures show another.